My parents cut me off from their anniversary after my brother lied I slept with his wife, but the horrific truth destroyed his happiness forever. It was a regular Thursday night when my phone rang. I looked at the screen, Mom. I smiled to myself, figuring she was calling to talk about plans for my parents' 30th wedding anniversary. It was a big milestone, and I figured I'd be there. But when I picked up the phone, the tone was nothing like I expected. "We're not inviting you," she said. No preamble, just that. I almost laughed, thinking it was some kind of weird joke. "What are you talking about? You've been inadequate, and frankly, we're disappointed in you," she continued, her voice clipped. "We've decided it's best if you don't come." I sat there, stunned. My parents and I didn't talk as much as we used to, sure, but inadequate? Disappointed? Those words stung, and the decision to expel me from that wasn't just hurtful. It was confusing as hell. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "We know what you did to Matt. Don't pretend you don't." Now I was completely lost. Matt was my younger brother. We'd never been close, but it wasn't like we were actively at war either, at least not lately. "What are you talking about? What did I do to Matt?" "We're not going to get into this," Mom snapped. "We know everything, and frankly, you should be ashamed of yourself." She hung up before I could ask another question. I stared down at my phone, replaying the conversation in my head. What the hell was going on? What did she mean by what I did to Matt? I hadn't even spoken to him in months, let alone done anything to warrant being kicked out of a family event. I considered calling Matt right then and there, but decided against it. I didn't trust him to tell me the truth. We had a rocky history, and while we'd managed to keep things civil as adults, there was still an undercurrent of tension. Matt had always been the golden child, the one who stayed close to home while I moved away and built my own life. He still lived with my parents for God's sake, even now at 29 with his wife Emily. The next day I tried to call my dad, hoping he'd be calmer and more reasonable than my mom. He picked up, but the conversation was just as bad, if not worse. "We're not going to discuss this," he said coldly. "We don't want you here. You're selfish, and frankly, you embarrass us." "Selfish? Embarrass?" I repeated, completely at a loss. "What are you talking about?" But he wouldn't explain. He just told me not to come and hung up. I barely slept that night. My parents had never treated me like this before, not even during the worst of my fights with Matt as a kid. Whatever was going on, it wasn't just a little misunderstanding. It felt like they hated me. By the next morning, I'd had enough. If they weren't going to tell me what was going on, I was going to find out for myself. So I got in my car and drove the 2 hours to my parents' house, smoking the whole way. When I got there, my dad was the one who opened the door. The look on his face told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't happy to see me. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his arms crossed. "I came to find out what's going on," I said. "You wouldn't tell me over the phone, so here I am." "You have 5 minutes," he said reluctantly, stepping aside. My mother appeared in the hallway, her face as hard as his. "We've said everything we need to say." "No, you haven't," I said, my frustration bubbling over. "You've accused me of something, but you haven't even told me what it is. Just tell me, what did Matt say I did?" They hesitated for a moment, then my mom sighed and exchanged a look with my dad. "Matt told us that Emily left him because you slept with her," she said. I froze. It felt like the floor had just been pulled out from under me. "You're kidding, right?" I finally managed to say, even though I could feel my voice shaking. My mother's face remained stone cold. "You think we joke about something like that?" "No, but..." I stopped, my head spinning. "This is insane. I didn't sleep with Emily. Why would Matt even say something like that?" "You tell us," my dad said. "We didn't want to believe it, but he wouldn't just make it up. He said he caught the two of you together." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I hadn't even seen Matt's wife Emily in almost a year. She was always cordial when I visited, but we weren't exactly close. The idea that I was involved with her was ridiculous. "That's a lie," I said, looking between them. "Matt is lying to you." "I don't know why, but he is. Why would he lie?" My mother shot back. His marriage fell apart because of it. He wouldn't just make it up for no reason. I didn't have an answer for that yet, but I knew he was manipulative when it suited him. We'd had many fights growing up, and my parents had always taken his side, no matter what. "Let me talk to him," I said. "When is he coming home?" My father crossed his arms tighter. "He's at work, and you're not staying here to bother him. We've been through enough, because of you." You think I'd drive 2 hours to deny it if I was guilty? I shot back. I have no idea what's going on, but I swear to God, I didn't touch Emily. My mom looked unconvinced, but something changed in my dad's expression. He didn't look ready to believe me, but he didn't look as sure either. I could feel the tension in the air, and I knew I had to get through to them before Matt came home and told more lies. Did you even talk to Emily? I asked. Did she say this happened? My mother hesitated for a second too long. She moved out last week, she finally admitted. She left Matt a note. That's when he told us what happened. Then call her, I said, right now. If she left him, don't you think it's possible there's more to the story? My parents exchanged glances. My dad sighed. Fine, he said. But if she confirms what Matt said, you're leaving. Deal, I said. My mom reluctantly picked up her phone and dialed Emily's number. It rang a few times before going to voicemail. She tried again with the same result. She's not answering, Mom said, glaring at me like it was my fault. Then I'll wait, I said. You want the truth, so will I. Before my parents could argue, the front door opened. Matt walked in, still in his work uniform. He froze when he saw me standing there. What's he doing here? Matt said, his voice immediately defensive. I've come to clear my name, I said. You want to explain why you told Mom and Dad I slept with your wife? Matt's face darkened, but there was something else there. Panic. Because you did, he said, but his voice wasn't as calm as I expected. Emily told me everything. Really? Then where is she now? I shot back, because if she left you, maybe it wasn't for the reason you say. She left because of you, he snapped. Or maybe she left because she was seeing someone else, someone who wasn't me. Matt's eyes darted to the ground for a split second. I saw it, my parents didn't. Why would I lie about that, he said, his voice rising. I don't know, Matt. Maybe because you can't admit the real reason your marriage fell apart. My dad stepped between us. Enough, he barked. Matt, we called Emily. She didn't answer. You want to explain why? Matt opened his mouth but didn't say anything. The panic in his eyes grew. Then my mom's phone buzzed. Emily was calling back. My mom looked down at her phone and then at Matt. Her hesitation was brief, but it was enough to confirm what I already suspected. She wasn't sure she wanted to hear what Emily had to say. Answer it, I said firmly. My mom picked up the phone and put it on speaker. Emily, it's me, Carol, she said, her voice careful. Hi, Emily replied, sounding surprised. What's going on? Well, we need to sort something out. Matt told us. Mom looked at Matt, who looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. He told us you left because you were having an affair with Matt's brother. There was a long pause. I felt my chest tighten as I waited for her answer. What? Emily said, her voice sharp. Is that what he told you? My mother stammered. So, it's not true? Of course it's not true, Emily said, exasperated. I left because Matt was impossible to live with. He didn't trust me, he was controlling. And look, this is a lot, but it had nothing to do with his brother. I turned to Matt, who was staring at the floor. My parents were silent, but I could see their confusion and embarrassment starting to set in. But you were seeing someone else? My dad asked. Emily sighed. Yes, but it wasn't his brother. It was my ex. I know it wasn't right, and I feel terrible about it. But Matt's paranoia didn't help. He'd been a mess for months, and when he accused me of cheating with his brother, it was the last straw. I couldn't take it anymore. Unbelievable, I muttered, shaking my head. Emily's tone softened. I'm sorry you got dragged into this, she told me. I had no idea Matt was going to take it this far. My mom quickly ended the call, thanking Emily before hanging up. There was silence in the room for a few seconds before I turned to Matt. You want to explain now? I asked, my anger bubbling to the surface. Matt shot me a glare. What was I supposed to do? She cheated on me, and you've always been the one everyone loves to talk about. Your job, your house, your so-called perfect life. I'm stuck here, and I didn't want to look like a loser. So you decided to make me the bad guy? Your own brother? Matt shrugged, avoiding my gaze. It worked, didn't it? Matt, my dad snapped. Are you seriously admitting this? You lied about something so disgusting, so destructive, just because you were embarrassed? Matt looked at him, then at my mom, who was staring at him with a mixture of disbelief and disappointment. You don't understand, he said weakly. You've always treated him like he's better than me. Nobody treated him better, my mother shot back. He worked hard for what he has. You could have done the same, but instead you're almost 30, living in our house and lying to us like a child. I think you've overstayed. You're welcome, my father said, his voice calm but with an edge to it that made everyone freeze. Matt's head snapped up. What, you're kicking me out? You're damn right we are, Dad said. Pack your things. You've got a week. Matt turned to Mom, but she just shook her head. This is your fault, she said. We can't have you here after what you did. For once, Matt was speechless. So was I. My parents had always gone easy on him, no matter how much trouble he caused. To see them finally hold him accountable was shocking. Matt stormed upstairs and slammed the door to his room. My dad let out a long sigh and turned to me. I'm sorry, son. We should have trusted you. I don't know what we were thinking. My mother nodded, her face tight with regret. We owe you an apology, a big one. I didn't say anything right away. I didn't know what to say. I had spent days feeling betrayed and angry, and now it felt like everything was spinning out of control. And just when I thought it was over, something happened that none of us saw coming. As Matt stomped upstairs, dragging the tension with him, I thought the worst was over. My parents had apologized, the truth was out, and Matt was finally facing consequences for once in his life. But just as we all started to breathe again, there was a loud knock on the front door. My dad frowned. Now what? I had no idea, but the timing seemed too odd to be a coincidence. My dad cautiously opened the door, and there was Emily. She looked tired but determined, her arms crossed over her chest. I need to talk to Matt, she said, without even saying hello. Emily, my mother said, coming forward. We were just talking to you. What are you doing here? I was trying to move on, she said, glancing at me briefly before turning back to my parents. But after your call, I realized I had to come back and clear the air in person. I couldn't let Matt continue to spread lies about your son. Or about me. I was floored. After everything, I hadn't expected Emily to show up at all, let alone come to my defense. Come in, my mother said, gesturing awkwardly. Emily came in, her eyes darting to the stairs. Is Matt here? He's upstairs, my dad said. But before you talk to him, you should know that we asked him to leave. Emily raised her eyebrows but made no comment. Good. He needs a wake-up call. I couldn't stay silent any longer. Why are you here, Emily? I mean, I appreciate you clearing my name, but what's this all about? She sighed and sat down on the edge of the couch. It's more than just a lie he told about you. Matt has been unstable for a while now. I tried to keep things together, but it was a losing battle. When I left, I hoped it would force him to take responsibility for his life, but instead he dragged you into this mess. I came here to make sure he doesn't keep dragging me or you down with him. I nodded slowly, not quite sure how to feel about her sudden sense of justice. What are you going to say to him? My mother asked cautiously. Emily straightened. The truth. All of it. You all deserve to hear it. Before anyone could answer, Matt stormed down the stairs. Why are you here? He snapped, glaring at Emily. I'm here because you pushed this too far, she shot back. Lying about your own brother. What the hell is wrong with you, Matt? Don't act like you're some innocent victim, he shouted. You betrayed me. Yes, I did, Emily said, her voice firm. And I'm not proud of it, but it wasn't with your brother. It was with my ex. And the only reason I stayed as long as I did was because I hoped you'd grow up and stop blaming everyone else for your problems. Matt opened his mouth to argue, but Emily stopped him. You didn't trust me. You controlled every little thing I did, and then, when it all fell apart, you couldn't handle it. Instead of admitting your part, you made up this disgusting lie to make yourself feel better. Do you have any idea how much damage you've done? My parents stood frozen, staring at Matt as if they were seeing him for the first time. He looked completely cornered, and for a moment I thought he might try to apologize or defend himself. But instead he snapped. You're all against me, he shouted. You've always been against me. He's the favorite, and I'm the one everyone looks down on. Of course you'd believe her and him over me. No one's against you, Matt, my father said, his voice calm but firm. You did this to yourself. Now you have to live with the consequences. Matt's face twisted in anger. He looked at each of us, his expression filled with rage, and then he stormed out of the house. For a moment, no one spoke. The silence was deafening. Emily finally stood up. I didn't come here to make things worse, she said, looking at me. I just wanted to set things right. My dad sighed. You did. Thank you. Emily nodded and turned to leave, but before she walked out the door, she looked back at me. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. You don't deserve to be involved in this. And just like that, she was gone. Matt left the house the next day. He didn't say much, just loaded his stuff into his old car and drove off without looking back. My parents didn't try to stop him. For the first time in his life, Matt was on his own. I won't lie. It felt strange. Matt had always been part of the family chaos, and though we were never close, his absence left a silence that took some getting used to. In the weeks that followed, things settled down. My parents and I talked more than we had in years. They apologized again for believing Matt's lie so easily, and I accepted. I didn't want to hold on to the bitterness. I guess we should have seen it coming, my dad admitted one night. He always had a way of twisting things to make himself look better. We just didn't want to believe he'd go this far. He's got a lot of growing up to do, I said. Maybe being on his own will help. As for Emily, her visit sparked more conversation than I expected. My mom, ever the analyzer, began to piece things together. Remember how Matt used to drag her along to every little thing? She asked one day. He'd make her sit there for hours while he talked about himself, complaining about his job, his life, everything. Yeah, my dad chimed in, and he barely let her get a word in. No wonder she looked so fed up half the time. I think that's why she went to see him after the phone call, Mom said, looking at me. Not because she wanted to stir things up, but because she had to put the final nail in the coffin. She'd had enough of him trying to control her, even after she left. I nodded, remembering how exhausted Emily had looked when she showed up. It made sense. Matt had always been overbearing, and Emily was probably trying to get her voice back the only way she knew how. Good for her, I finally said. She deserves some peace. Over time, things began to feel normal again. My parents and I became closer, and they even came to visit me a few weeks later, something they hadn't done in years. As for Matt, I heard through the grapevine that he was renting a small apartment in town and keeping to himself. We didn't talk, and frankly, I was okay with that. Some wounds take time to heal if they ever do. In the end, the whole situation was a mess, but it taught us all something. For me, it was a reminder that family isn't perfect, but sometimes they surprise you by stepping up when it matters most. And for Matt, well, maybe being on his own was just what he needed to finally figure out who he was. At least, I hope so. A few months later, Matt showed up at my parents' house. He looked different, tired, thinner, and more subdued than I'd ever seen him. Living alone had clearly taken its toll. Between rent, bills, and trying to manage life without our parents' safety net, it seemed like reality had finally caught up with him. My parents let him move back in on one condition. He had to contribute to the household and start taking responsibility for himself. To my surprise, he agreed without a fight. Not long after he moved back in, Matt reached out to me. He asked if we could talk, and although I wasn't sure what to expect, I agreed. I just want to say I'm sorry, he said when we met in a coffee shop. I was an idiot. A selfish, insecure idiot. I lied because I didn't know how to deal with everything falling apart. I blamed you because it was easier than admitting I'd messed up. His apology surprised me. Matt wasn't the type to admit he was wrong, let alone take responsibility for his actions. I get it, I said after a moment. You were in a bad place, but that doesn't excuse what you did. I know, he said, looking genuinely ashamed. I can't change what happened, but I'm trying to be better. Living on my own, it made me realize a lot of things about myself, about how I've treated people. I nodded, letting his words sink in. For the first time in a long time, he sounded sincere. I forgive you, I finally said. But don't expect things to go back to the way they were overnight. Trust takes time. I understand, he said. After that, things didn't magically go back to normal, but they did get better. Matt kept his word about contributing to the household, and our parents saw a change in him too. He wasn't perfect, none of us are, but it was a start. In the end, his time away seemed to do what we'd all hoped it would, force him to grow up and face his own selfishness. And while rebuilding that bridge wasn't going to be easy, I was glad he'd finally taken the first step.